All right, now that you know the Pythagorean converse, we're going to, just like yesterday, we're going to make a spreadsheet that'll actually do those problems for us. So I want you to go back to this spreadsheet that you had created for the missing day on Wednesday. And if you go down here in the bottom left of the screen, there's a little plus sign. You can add another spreadsheet. You get another one. And you can make it fancy, do anything you want with the colors. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a spot for calculating using two legs, so two blank spots for the legs and the hypotenuse. This is what somebody would enter into the, whoops, wrong flavor. There we go. And someone would enter numbers into these boxes. And these are the numbers we're going to test. We don't know if these are right. We're going to test to see if they make a right triangle or not. So one of the legs will go here. One of them will go here. It might be a little small. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better. And then the hypotenuse will go here. Now, this hypotenuse might be right or wrong. Somebody's going to tell you, hey, figure out if the triangle with side lengths 3 and 5 and 7, is this going to be a right triangle? So this isn't going to be, this may or may not be the right number. So we're going to put a spot where we can actually calculate the right number. I'm going to call it the correct hypotenuse. And so we're going to be comparing these two numbers. So for this one, ooh, zoomed in too far. Now I can't see where my coloring thing is. I'm going to have to zoom back out. Whee. There we go. So I got the hypotenuse that we're given and the hypotenuse we're going to calculate. Now the one here that I've got in red, I'm going to calculate this one. And so I'm going to calculate it based on these two leg measures. So, whoops, there we go. So, zoom back in so you can follow along. Just like yesterday's spreadsheet, in here is going to be, and tell the computer to take these two numbers, square them, add them, and take the square root. So I'm going to go here and type in equals, and it's square root of this box squared. In my case, it's B3 for the second, plus this box for the second, and close my parentheses. Whoops, there we go. And so for 3 and 5, I get 5.8. Now, I can tell right away from looking at this that this number is what I'm supposed to get. So this number here in the yellow is wrong. So if somebody give me 3, 5, and 7, they're wrong. The correct answer is supposed to be 5.8. Someone is claiming it's 7. So that means this number here, the 7, is too big, which would mean it's obtuse. I want to get the computer to do that part as well. I want the computer to say this is an obtuse triangle, or it's an acute triangle, or it's a right triangle. So I'm going to have 3 boxes here, and it's a little bit tricky, but we're going to tell the computer to look at these two numbers. If this number is too big, say obtuse. If this number here is too small, say acute. And if they're equal, then say right. So I'm going to come over here and for a box and for a place for it to say that. And again, I'm going to change colors. I'm going to need 3 boxes. I'm sure there's a better way to do this, but to me, all I know of is each box, 1 box for each word. I want this box to tell me if it's a right triangle. So for this box, we're going to put in the code that says, look at these two numbers. If they're the same, then say the word right. Okay, so I'm going to put a code in here to compare these numbers. And that if these two come out to be the same, it says right. So I'm going to throw in a right triangle just to show you how this works. So if I put 3 and 4, I know that for my 2 legs, I know that the hypotenuse here is supposed to be 5. So if I'm going to change this to 5, and that should make a right triangle, and look what happens. The computer says, oh, that's a right triangle. The word right appears. And it didn't appear when I had the wrong number here. If I had a 9 here, it didn't show up. But if I had a 5, the correct number, it says a right triangle. How did I get it to do that? Let me show you. Ooh, don't need that. This here is the code to get that to say that. The code says, and highlight it here. All right, so you highlight the box where you want it to say the right triangle, and you still have to start with equals. So the computer knows it's supposed to be doing something. And then you write if, and then in parentheses, F3 equals F6. F3 is the box where I have the number that I was given for the hypotenuse, and F6 is the box where I have the calculated measure for it. And if they turn out to be the same, comma, and then next it says this is what it will do if it's the same. And in this case, I'm just putting quotes here saying, say this word. So in quotes, R-I-G-H-T, end quote. and then a comma, and then I can do another thing here, which is what should it do if they're not the same? So I have a quote and then a space here and another quote saying if they're not equal, if F3 does not equal F6, just print a blank space. So that way, when I type in the correct number here, like say it's 5, 12, and the hypotenuse is supposed to be 13, if there's a 13 here, it says right. But if they're not the same, if those two numbers don't match, it just prints a blank space. We're going to do the same thing here for an obtuse triangle, where if I have this number here, that in my case is 9, if that's too big, I want to say the word obtuse. So I'm going to this blank, and hit equals, and it fits the same format. We start with if. Let me zoom in so you can see this. Oops, wrong way. There we go. If, and I want to compare those two boxes again. If, parentheses, and I want to say this box, which is F3, if this is too big, if it's greater than F6, then the first thing it puts here is what do you want it to do if this is true? So if that's true, if the yellow box is bigger than the red box, write obtuse. Then comma, and then what do you want it to do if it's not true? So I'm going to put just print a blank space, so it leaves blank, and I close the parentheses. So if this box is too big, write obtuse, and if it's not true, print a blank statement. So this should work here. So according to this, the correct hypotenuse would be 13. Let's make this too big, and obtuse should show up over here. It's supposed to be 13. Let's make it 14. And now it says the triangle is going to be obtuse. All right. Your assignment for today is going to be to make this spreadsheet, and so that someone puts in two legs in the hypotenuse. Number one, it calculates the correct hypotenuse. That's just like what you did yesterday. And number two, and you can rip me off exactly here for the codes here, it says the word either right or obtuse, and I didn't explain how to get to say acute. I'm going to leave that to you. There's only some minor changes from the obtuse code to make it say acute. So probably what you want to do is just copy this code, put it into this box, and then make the proper adjustments. You only have to change two things. All right, so that's the assignment, is adding to your spreadsheet, creating a spreadsheet that will decide if a triangle is acute, obtuse, or right. If you want to know if your spreadsheet is correct, look at the 3 problems you just did right before starting this video. All right, have a good day.